Hello and welcome to another unboxing video from Big Orbit Cards. I'm Chris and today we'll be looking at the Liliana Death Wielder Planeswalker box. So these are the intro packs, actually before we open it. So in them you get a 60 card deck with the Planeswalker card Liliana, and you get 2 Amonkhet booster packs along with the strategy insert and quick reference guide just in case you're new to the game and need a bit of help. So let's crack it open. So let's look at the Planeswalker card first. Pop it out. Okay, so Liliana Death Wielder. She is 5 and 2 black. For a Liliana Planeswalker. She has a +2 ability, put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature. Her -3 is destroy target creature with a -1/-1 counter on it, and her -10 is return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, and she starts with 5 loyalty. So yeah, I mean, straight off you can see that the deck is going to be all about putting -1/-1 counters on your opponent's creatures and then killing them. And then if you manage to get this far into the game, you can -10 her to bring all your creatures that you've either discarded or that have just died through combat or any other means. Just get to put them all back onto the battlefield. So you also get this nice box which contains all of the rest of the cards. So there's the 60 card deck and your 2 booster packs and your reference guides. So let's have a look through the deck first. Just put those to one side. These are a bit of a pain to open sometimes. It's all stuck to me. There he goes, eventually got there. So there's your reference guide, which folds out into all the different stages of the game, how to do everything, casting spells, things like that. And there's your parts of a turn. Very useful to have at the side of the table if you're a new player. So the rares are at the top. So Channeler's Initiate. It is 1 and a green for a 3/4 human druid. When enters the battlefield, put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control, and you can tap it to remove a -1/-1 counter from itself to add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. So when it enters, you can put those 3 -1/-1 counters on itself, and then on the following turn, it's essentially ramping. So very good card to have. Your Oracle's Vault. So 4 of any for an artifact. It has 2 and tap to exile the top card of your library. Until the end of the turn you can play that card and you put a brick counter on Oracle's Vault. So brick counters are a new mechanic. You can essentially put the counter on it. Once it has a certain number of counters, the second ability activates. So you can tap it to exile the top card of your library, and until the end of the turn you may play that card without paying its mana cost. So the first ability you're paying 2 to be able to see the top card of your library and play it, but you have to pay the mana. The second ability is just turn over the top card and just play it if you want to. Liliana's Influence is 4 and 2 black for a sorcery. You put a -1/-1 counter on each creature you don't control. You may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Liliana Death Wielder, reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. So yeah, this basically gets your Liliana out of your library or graveyard if it's already dead. And yeah, just putting -1/-1 counters on all of your opponent's creatures is pretty powerful. It's quite expensive though, but you get the Planeswalker out of it too. So now we're onto the commons and uncommons, the bulk of your deck basically. So Festering Mummy, 1 black for a 1/1. When it dies, you can put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. So it could be your own creature, but most likely it's going to be your opponent's creature. So a solid card. Dune Beetle. So it's a 1/4 for 1 and a black. Just a basic card really. It's got high toughness, so you can put your -1/-1 counters on it if you want your guys to come out stronger. Because as you'll see in a minute, there's several cards that put -1/-1 counters on your creatures. So we've got 4 Tattered Mummies. When it dies, opponent loses 2 life. Solid. Baleful Amonkhet, so an uncommon, 2 and a black for a 4/3 with lifelink, and it's a Crocodile Demon too. Interesting. So when it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control. So it can be on itself, so paying 3 mana for a 3/2, or you can put it on one of your other creatures, for instance your Channeler Initiate, if you've already taken counters off it, if you wanted to get more ramp going. Desiccated Naga, so 2 and a black for a Zombie Naga. It's 3/2, and it has, you can pay 3 and a black, and target opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. But you can only activate that if you control a Liliana Planeswalker. So it's an interesting mechanic there. The fact that you have to have the Planeswalker out to be able to use it. Ooh, there's actually 3 of those. Next up, we've got Gravedigger, 3 and a black for a zombie, 2/2. And when it enters the battlefield, you can return a target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So you're just getting stuff out of your graveyard. A lot of value, because even if your stuff dies, you've got ways of getting it back. Crocodile of the Crossing, so 3 and a green for a 5/4 Crocodile with haste. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control. So again, same mechanic. This deck is all about just spreading the -1/-1 love. Giant Spider. So this is how you deal with flyers in this deck. 3 and a green for a 2/4 with reach. Decimator Beetle. This is one of the more interesting cards in the deck. So 3 and black and a green for a 4/5 insect. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control. So pretty standard compared to the rest of the deck. But whenever he attacks, you can remove a -1/-1 counter from target creature you control and put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature defending player controls. So you're loading up your board with -1/-1 counters, and then this attacks and moves them over onto your opponent's creatures, making them weaker and you're stronger. Now into the land base. So we've got Foul Orchard, so pretty standard, just can tap it for a black or a green and it enters tapped. So it's 4 of those. Put those up there. Grasping Dunes, it's a 1 of in the deck. You can tap it to add colourless, or you can pay 1, tap it and sacrifice it to put a -1/- counter on target creature. But you can only do that when you can play a sorcery. So later in the game, if you don't need the extra mana, you can just go ahead, sack it, put a -1/- counter on something, whether it be your own creature or an opponent's. Most likely an opponent's if it's that late in the game though. Then we've got some swamps and some forests, which is all pretty standard stuff. And now we're on to enchantments, sorceries and instants. So we've got Trial of Ambition, 1 and a black for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent sacrifices a creature. So pretty powerful for just 2 mana. And then when a cartouche enters the battlefield in your control, you can return this to your hand, which is great because there are a couple of cartouches in this deck, which we'll get to in a minute, and we'll go through what they do. Yeah, let's just move this so you can still see everything. Edifice of Authority, so 3 mana for an artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it, and target creature can't attack this turn, and you can put a brick counter on this. So good for shutting down your opponent's attacks. And you can pay 1 and tap it, and until your next turn, target creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. But you can only activate that once there's 3 or more brick counters on the edifice. So pretty strong. You're just shutting down what your opponent wants to do. So yeah, very good. Luxor River Shrine. So you gain about 3 mana for an artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it to gain a life and put a brick counter on it. Or you can tap it and gain 2 life, but only if there are 3 or more brick counters on it. So a little bit of life gain. So the Cartouche of Ambition. 2 and a black for a Cartouche enchantment. So this interacts with the Trial of Ambition that we saw a minute ago. You enchant a creature, and when it enters you can put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. It doesn't have to be the creature that you enchant, just as an aside. And enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. So again, a bit of extra life gain, and you're buffing your guys. Plus you can return the trial and replay that to make your opponent sacrifice more creatures. So cartouches are pretty cool. Splendid Agony. 2 and a black for an instant. Distribute 2 -1/-1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures. So again, just spreading the counter love. Cartouche of Strength. This is the green cartouche. There's one for every colour. This one is 2 and a green to enchant creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, you may have enchanted creature fight target creature an opponent controls, and the reminder text there. So each deals damage equal to its power to the other, but it's not combat. Each creature gets +1. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. So again, another strong cartouche. And then finally, Gift of Paradise. So this is 2 and a green to enchant a land you control. Actually, it doesn't have to be one that you control. Could be your opponent's if you really want. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and the enchanted land has tap to add 2 mana of any colour to your mana pool. So this is quite strong for ramping up to those high cost spells. So yeah, overall, the deck seems quite fun, to be honest. I mean, you're spreading around all these -1/-1 counters, and then like swinging in with the Decimator Beetle, for instance, who will then remove your -1/-1 counters and put them on your opponent's creatures. A little bit of an element of control as well, because you've got the Trial of Ambition to kill your opponent's creatures outright by making them sacrifice them. So it's not even that you're destroying them, you're forcing your opponent to sacrifice them, which is important. And you can do that as like over and over again because you've got the cartouches to return them to your hand. So an interesting deck. Let's just move the commons and uncommons out of the way so we can open these 2 booster packs that come in the back. So we have a Naga Vitalist, some good ramp, Slitherblade, another cartouche. That would be good to add in, because the idea of these booster packs is that you play with the deck a few times and then you open the booster packs and you add in some cards that you get in the packs, change the deck, make it a bit more refined. So adding another cartouche could be good. Cursed Minotaur, another decent zombie card. Unwavering Initiate, very nice card. 3/2 Vigilance that comes back with one of the new mechanics, Embalm, where you can exile it from your graveyard and put a token copy of it onto the battlefield. Compelling Argument, some amusing mill mechanic. Trespasser's Curse, very good card for shutting down infinite combos, where creatures enter the battlefield under enchanted player's control. That player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So if anyone is still playing Felidar Guardian with Saheeli even after the ban, that shuts that down. Pursue Glory, just Just an instant to give attacking creatures +2/+0, and you can cycle as well. Bit Blade Warrior, you can exert it. We'll talk about exert in one of the other videos that we'll be releasing today in a bit more depth, but you can exert a creature when it attacks, which means it doesn't untap during your next turn, but you get an immediate benefit, so it's an interesting one. Cartouche of Zeal, so another nice cartouche, 1 red to give a creature +1/+1 and haste, and when it enters, an opponent's creature can't block this turn, so very nice. Got Kefnet's Monument, so 3 for a legendary artifact. Blue creature spells cost 1 less to cast, and whenever you cast a creature spell, target creature an opponent controls doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Blood Rage Brawler, 1 and a red for a 4/3, and when it enters the battlefield, discard a card. So really, really strong for like mana cost to stats ratio there. The downside is that you're discarding a card, but you're playing red, you don't mind discarding cards. We have a Grasping Dunes. So again, that's already in the deck. You can maybe add a second if you feel the need to. Another Oracle's Vault, so it's an interesting one. Another one that's already in the deck. And an island, and one of the new tokens, which you can you basically pull these out, and it's just nice tokens to show that things are embalmed, exerted, or brick counters, or -1/-1 counters. And let's open the last pack. So we've got Inakotra's Name, Splendid Agony, another one. Seeker of Insight, Illusionary Wrappings, Cartouche of Strength, another one that you could add in a third copy even. Fanbearer, Spidery Grasp, Nimbleblade Kenra, Sunscorched Desert. It's an interesting one that you could maybe put in the deck as well if you want the extra damage dealt to your opponent. Stinging Shot, good way to deal with flyers for 1 mana. So just put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature with flying. And it also has cycling too, which makes it a much better card, because if your opponent doesn't have any flyers, you can just cycle it. Trial of Zeal, so when it enters the battlefield, deal 3 damage to target creature or player. And when a cartouche enters, you can return it to hand. Got Ancrop Champion, another one with Exert, where you can untap all of the creatures you control. So if you exerted everything in the turn while you're attacking, as well as this, everything untaps. Trial of Solidarity, another trial. Again, when a cartouche enters, you return it to your hand. This one is probably the weakest of them all, though. You get creatures you control get +2/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn. It's not bad, but you know, Anthem effects, you need the right deck for it. Ooh, Hazoret's Favor. So 2 and a red for an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have target creature you control get +2/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. If you do, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So it's just a way of playing creatures and getting them to attack straight away, but you have the downside of having to sacrifice them. We have a Plains and a Warrior token. So not bad packs overall. So yeah, that is the Liliana Planeswalker deck. Like I said before, it's an interesting one. Lots of -1/-1 counters and interesting mechanics, and it should play well against the other Planeswalker deck, the Gideon one. So yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. Remember, all the cards you've seen in the video, plus all of the others from Amonkhet, can be bought or traded on our website, bigorbitcards.co.uk. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. So thank you for watching.